Hello guys, mag-live na punta. Mag-live naman tayo. Live stream guys. ML. Underscore. Okay. Ready to go. Guys, mag-start na ta. Isaya. Isaya mo na eh. Okay, apil ta og register at release mo na eh. Be, mga itatag Hanap tayo ng kakampi. Wala. Wala. Season journey. Ah? Classic ta?
Flowers bloom across the land, and our
Classic ta?
celestial city thrives in an era of peace.
Oo. Okay, magkuhan ko. Mag 2 games lang guys. Tapos tulog na tayo.
A ruler's work is never done.
Kanina talo tayo ng 2 games. Ha? 3 games ba sa YouTube? 2 games ra. Ito po ay live stream ng mga talunan. Palaging defeat. Defeat. Okay lang, at least nag-enjoy.
Your team is banning.
Ako ang jungler. Ang gagamitin ko dito si Yisanshin. Yisanshin.
They call me a hero because I saved my nation from falling apart.
Yisanshin, Yisanshin.
Payback time.
Grace, ikaw sa Facebook, Grace.
I do what I want to do.
I-share ba? I-share natin to sa Facebook.
Alpha is online.
Saan ba itong share?
Experience the euphony of
The enemy is
suffering.
picking.
Nara. Share po natin sa Facebook, mga guys.
Basics of science.
Your team is picking.
Grimoire Gamez.
You should be ashamed for not trusting yourself. The enemy is picking.
Time and tide wait for no man, nor girl.
Followers. Highlights. Okay, start na po tayo. Malakas ang kalaban natin. Guys, pasensya na po tayo sa Tagalog ko kasi Bisaya ako. Bisdak. Bisayan dako. Excuse.
Welcome to Mobile
Okay,
Legends.
ito na. Start na po tayo.
5 seconds till the enemy reaches the battle.
Sana manalo.
Smash them. All troops deployed.
I go wherever the wind takes me. A good army should be flexible, like water. My reputation is built on my bravery and loyalty. Only by facing the enemy can one know his true self.
Nawa na, daga na.
Duty,
Takbo na.
honor, and homeland.
Initiate retreat.
Understood.
Stay loyal. Stay humble.
First blood.
Na, sobrang greedy naman.
An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain. An enemy has been slain.
If you can predict the enemy's moves, you won't be defeated.
Ito po ang kukunin
True warrior
natin
never backs
first.
down
Ito.
from a fight. Our victory will be decisive.
Attack the turtle.
Duty, honor, and homeland.
Gather at the turtle.
Okay.
Our victory will be decisive.
You have slain an enemy.
Gather at
Turtle
the
po.
Understood.
Slain the turtle.
Patayin mo yan. Patay.
An enemy.
Yes, thank you. Patay. Kuha niyang turtle bro, patay siya.
I go wherever
Okay
the
lang.
wind takes me. A true warrior never backs down from a fight. If you can predict the enemy's moves, you won't be defeated.
Ally has been
Na, kawawa ng top natin.
Request backup. Launch
Only by
attack.
facing the enemy can one know his true self. My reputation is built on my bravery and loyalty.
La! Ay, wag. Patay tayo. Patay nga.
Slain.
Sayang. Ilang. Nakabawas po siya ba eh. Tuto na yan ko ano. Kwarta
A
ritso.
good army should be flexible, like water.
Request backup.
Stay loyal. Stay A good army should be flexible, like water.
Killing spree.
Na.
An enemy has been slain. Shut down. Double kill.
Turtle ta, turtle.
Spree. Attack the turtle.
Understood.
Only by facing the enemy can one know his true self. If you can predict the enemy's moves,
Okay. Atin na turtle. Objective lang guys. Objective. Objectives lang.
Measure around my stomach and leave a few inches away from that. I want to cut my nails around 4.5 inches tall and 22 inches around. But I'm going to add an extra inch on both ends for safety allowance.
duty,
So my next step
homeland.
is to chop out my measurements and make the cuts.
Okay.
Team destroy the turret. You have slain an enemy. Double kill.
Okay, alis na ako.
Ally has been slain.
The bits of fabric that we have left over will stay.
Okay, lamang na ako sa pera kay Kuan. Harley.
Launch attack.
Push first.
Victory will be decisive.
Welcome back to Central Club. If you're new around here, I am Maddie, and as I just mentioned, I have got some beginner-friendly tutorials today where I'm going to show how to use those awkward bits of scrap fabric and how to turn them into cute tops.
Patay siya. Nice one. Nice game. Parang palalo tayo dito. Magaling magaling yung kampi natin. Ay ala. Ay patay ko. Patay pa natin siya. Kala ko patay na ako dun ah. Alis na tayo guys. Kapatay pa tayo. Nice one. Total na. Ay, nako, munti ka na. Ah! Kapit. Kanila na yan, turtle nila yan.
Otherwise you can watch through all of this and then just pick out what you're most drawn to. Right? Well, if you follow along, this is what you'll need to bring your beauty
My
to life.
reputation is
Patay ng Beatrice. Oh.
and loyalty.
Ayun, nakuha. Ah, spawn mo nimo.
Victory will be decisive.
Cotton, whereas the ones that are gathered, I highly recommend going for a flowy, thinner material.
Wala na, Lord na. Naging Lord na.
So when it comes to shirring, that definitely works better on a thinner style material. So avoid going for anything too stiff or too stretchy for the shirring style. If you are going for some
Patay.
will be plenty.
Sana malakas na yung Isan-Shin.
As they are, I think they can only require a small amount of material. If you do want to do more so, you can just double check the measurements of each of the tutorials and you can see if you have enough material there. And if you bring this to
My reputation is built on my bravery and loyalty.
Okay guys, abang tayo dito guys. Patay tayo. Hey. Pumitas tayo dito. Pipitas tayo dito.
Honor and homeland.
in each of the various tutorials. I went for about
Agay, dalawa sila. Sayang. Sayang, namatay pa. Okay. Kulang natin dito. Ito.
A good army should be flexible, like water.
and so much more. In particular, I have been loving William's Kessling's class on animation for graphic designers and how to animate a logo, as my main job is actually graphic design, and I'm always thinking new ways to level my skills in this area. Learning so many computer skills or watching the being able to do
Lord, no.
animation in the bite-sized segments really helped me to
No.
what he was sharing and then the interaction on my own.
Walang sumasama sa Lord.
Skills that you sound like something that you would be interested in as well, then jump on the offer below and the first 1,000 subscribers to click the link in the
Okay.
description to get a 1 month free trial of Skillshare. So you can start to learn your
Nice ka, Alpha. Wala, suko ng kalaban.
sort of simple and cute.
Hindi na nagdidip.
You just need to find the key measurements
Wala na, suko na sila.
as well as the straps. To grab your measurements,
Panalo na.
find
Yehey!
and we're going to add 4 inches to this for seam allowance, then divide this by 2, and that is the cutting width for 1 seam. This measurement
Patay siya.
move around. So once we've got the width, we're going to find the height and do this by finding the mid-chest area where you want the top to start down to the point where you want the top to finish. Obviously this is a personal preference. You can make it like crop or you put it down lower. Either way, figure out how long you want it to be and then add 1 inch for seam allowance. Then for the straps, we'll start measuring from that front mid-chest area where the top is going to start.
Sayang yun ah.
I go wherever the wind takes me.
I recommend doing this step in front of the mirror so you kind of see the mirror into the back section. Obviously, on board, you can always add additional amounts in the trim up later. Whenever it's really close,
Sayang, hindi ko napatay.
One
so
note
once
is
you've done
true
that
self.
length, then add 1 inch of seam allowance. Then for the custom bit, through then just going to figure out the final width of our strap.
Sana, hawan
Double
ako.
that as we'll be folding it, and then we'll add 1 inch of seam allowance. So for this top, I would prefer a thicker strap, so it's only 5 inches, or 1 double
Okay, panalo.
inches, and then add 1 inch of seam allowance, so kind of 3-4 inches. Once you've got all these
Okay, next game. 2 games na tayo, guys.
first front panel,
Last
trim
game.
and then you can use that first one as a second panel for the back side. Next, we'll just need to find the second lot of key measures.
Malakas talaga yung Sansin ngayon.
That go under our arms. So measure across your chest and how far you want the straps to be. This is the outer edges of the strap just before it starts angling down. For me, I went about 9 inches, and then we'll need to find a dip for the underarm section, which we just align the mid-chest area to our underarm and measure down how far we would like it to dip. I ended up measuring down about 4 inches, so whatever dip you want it to be, I recommend finding at least half an inch just so you have that extra length on there. For a more conservative fit, you go about 2 to 3 inches, and for like the lower dip, you can go about 4 to 5 inches. So once you figure that out, we're just going to fold our panels
Okay,
in
last
half,
game.
so we find the center point and it's nice and symmetrical. We're then going to measure out half of that chest area, so if mine was 9 inches, I'm going to measure out 4.5 inches. Pop a dot there, and then we'll measure down that side edge, so that we mark half the area to dip. So for me, that was 4 inches. Popped a mark there, and then drew a line between these 2 dot points, and that creates our angle for our underarm. Trim this section off, and then go back for the second panel. You can just use this first one as a template, otherwise you can measure out the
Ano
dot
tayo
points
ngayon?
again. Next
Your
one
team
needs to
is
go facing, which is just a
Okay,
recommended
fighter
section of
tayo.
the top. You can just
Mag-Benedita
create a nice
tayo.
finish for the seams along the top, and also if your material does happen to be see-through, it will help create a second layer which will prevent it from being too transparent. So lay the panel where we have cut these angles on over the top of some extra material, and then just trim around it, creating replicated
Iba
piece with
natin
rules.
si
I just went about 2 to 3 inches on the
Spillane.
underarm section, and that ends up just
Iban
covering
si
the bust
Spillane.
area. Repeat that for the back side, and then it's time to cut out our straps. So cut out again those length and widths that we originally found, and cut out
Panero
2 panels
mo ulit
through
ko,
these
ani.
measurements.
Ba natin zilong. Ito na lang. Yan, ba natin yan.
Is picking.
Kakainis kasi yung zilong.
Sides are facing inwards, and so along with one edge.
Hana-
So at any of these
Sanjo,
stages,
the
you might
enemy
see
is
that
Hanabi Sanjo.
Let's
Ayay,
finish it
kaliya
for a
pag yun.
real fight.
I see lots of
Your
prey.
team is picking.
May kalaban tayong kaliya, guys.
Magic is my life.
Isa sa mga pinaka-iinisan kong hero.
and I'm just a bit lazy like that. If you find that the material is moving around,
My magic
then
flows
so it doesn't
as
shift
freely
around.
as the
Enemy
wind.
Once you've done the first one, repeat that for the second panel, and then
Wala
just
tayong
go
tank,
around
wala
the
namang
material,
tank.
go around the overall position.
Ay, ako. After this, tulog na tayo.
Push the good sides in through this panel and out so it reveals and all the seams are hidden on the inside. Once you've done that, I'd recommend just pushing the seam so it's kind of in the center, and you can do this by using an iron and pressing it in
Ready?
place, and then you'll see that
Go!
there's a nice
Please
clean
pick a
front
hero.
side, and then there's the seam kind of in the center. on the back side.
Benedetta.
The body suffers.
So one of the raw edges of the
Benedetta.
When you gaze into the
enemy is
Kaya itong gamitan.
Once you've got that laying good sides facing down to the
Kaya
good
itong
sides of the
gamitan.
main panel, you'll then lay it facing on top of this, and you can pin down all the sides, making sure
Para
that
sakit
the
siya.
straps in place as well. So it's a very
man
simple
with a
process where you put the
spear
main
is a
panel, good sides
fortress.
facing up, the straps good sides facing down, and then the facing on top of that with the
Kanina
good
itong
sides
gamitan.
facing down as well. We're then just going to sew across the 3 top edges, so the one angle, the straight edge with the other angle.
Na lang. Oh, zilong lagi. Mukhang zilong eh.
Once you've done that, trim off any excess material and then go around and zigzag stitch or overlap those edges again so they don't fray. Then to help prevent it from puffing up, I'm just going to do this.
Tayo natin baugin si zilong kung kaya.
The area that you have sewn, and we're just going to
Ay, magaling to. Nag-inspire.
facing and sew it down so it's secured to that side. I'm just going to do this along the top straight edge as I find it is a little bit easier just focusing on one
Mahirap to kalabanin si zilong ngayon.
over to the face.
Grabe ang heal niya.
Straight across there. This might involve pushing the material around just so
Ka-inspire pa.
So you can then go ahead and use your iron to press these edges down so it creates a nice crisp finish as well. So once that
Unti-untiin lang natin to guys. Hindi natin siya
so we'll lay down
kasi grabe yung
facing up.
sustain ni Zilong.
Down, but you'll notice now that the straps are attached to the other panel, so just make sure when you lay down
May lifesteal pa.
facing down that the good side of the other main panel is facing down as well. Again, align the raw edges of the straps to the raw edges of that top main panel that we're sewing, and then lay the facing on top of that with the good sides facing down.
Kung walang tulong sa kampi, talo to. Pero try natin na hindi tayo ma-isa ni Zilong. Tulungan mo natin yung natin. Si Harit. Tulungan natin si Harit. Okay, tapos na.
To the ones who live on the edge.
Kala mo, maghihilang Grabe yung Zilong. Pinihilang niya. Grabe Grabe yung damage.
And then just pin this in place, sew along that straight line. So once the facing edges are looking all nice and clean, we can then just go ahead and fold it over the top so that the good sides of the front
The darkness gathers.
the
light of day
Then just pin those side edges in and sew one
Uy, naku, wag.
bottom. So you find that it gives it a bit of a loose fit.
Munti ka na. Ay!
Picking a little bit more on the edges. I did find it to kind of create a larger seam line, and these two smaller seam lines.
Ay, nako.
Smash it where it's tight around the bust and
Saan na yung kakampi natin?
until you get it fitting nice.
Magaling.
Seam lamps and then overlock those
Ayos.
edges. And for the very last step, we're just going to do one final
Magaling sila.
and just create a double fold. I would put a half-inch fold for each of these, pin it in place, and then just sew one line across this entire edge, and that's all nice and done. So just simple and cute number to add to the wardrobe.
Romanian Empire.
Nahuli ka na.
Got a bit more of a gather.
Okay, nasa na yun.
Scrunching inside.
Dito na lang.
Measuring some key areas to figure out the cutting width and height for the main panel.
Manners.
So recommending taking out the bottom area and then time kicking out by 1.5 and divide this by 2. And the reason I do this is because we're actually adding elastic
Okay.
effect. So that way the
Alis muna tayo. Wala akong ulti Wala ulti.
Edge.
finish. So this area has 4 inches of seam allowance. Then for the straps, we are going to allow scrunching effect. So we measure from the front of the chest around to the back where the straps will meet the top, and then
Every new day is worth celebrating in this
again, we'll do final measurement, times it by 2.
Di kaya.
This one will go full width, so we're going to find out the 1 inch, the 2 inches, and then have 1 inch difference between the
Wala. Saan na yung kampi?
two measurement is the measurement with the measurement top for that one length and the width of the top.
Sus.
For that first one, I think, and the second one, and then repeat that process for the straps as well. Now for these, I
The
thought it could be a
darkness
nice
gathers.
effect to
Ano ba yan? Wala kang kampi.
inside. By doing this, it just means we won't need to
Ang bagal.
stitch these edges as we already have created a nice clean finish and it won't break. We lay down the main top panels with the good sides facing outwards. You pin down the two side edges and then
Okay, lamang na si Zilong.
flowers will bloom again.
Lamang na siya ng 200.
So that sewing knife is the closest to the edge. So then for both sides, we then just flip it out now so the good sides are facing each other and we'll flatten out those edges. So instead of just
Am I a
sewing down
demon
the
hunter or a
of course,
justice
you can always
yard?
get an iron in front of this if you find that your material is quite puffy. Then we'll just pin along here and then sew as close as we can to the edge, but also
Okay.
have enough space so that existing seam allowance can get hidden in there. If you're unsure, sewing is about half an inch.
Let's dance with blades!
So get this for both sides.
Patay.
Nice clean finish where the side seams are done and
Kala mo
hidden
Uy.
in that section that we sewed.
Alis ka na. Ay!
Bottom edges and just create one single
Hindi ko nakita sa mapa.
King of the Romanian Empire.
Mapa naman.
half an inch or 1 centimeter, pin that in place and sew it entirely across this edge and then repeat that for the other side. This is just going to help prepare that edge so that we can add the elastic in there. So once you've done that for the both top and bottom, we'll then grab our elastic and wrap it
Am I a
around
demon
where our
hunter
top
or a
is
justice
finishing, and then it's kind of just under my bust area, making sure to pull it so it's not too tight, but just kind of sitting there securely and applying an inch of seam allowance. Trimming that first piece of elastic and then wrapping another piece of elastic above the
Dance with flames!
Kapit.
Finishing and then adding 1 inch of seam allowance and trimming that piece. For me, I found that my top piece was a little bit longer, so I just kept that in mind when I was laying this down. Then we're going to go back to our top and create a second fold, which is going to widen up the elastic to fit in. Ideally, whatever elastic is made up an extra half inch, just so it allows you to have a bit of a moving room and also seam allowance just so across that
Defense.
and now your elastic over the top, so double check that it fits on there, pin that in place and continue this process
Wala ba eh?
on the top and the bottom edges. Then both times we're going to sew pretty much entirely all
Every
the way
dawn is a
around,
new
but make sure
beginning.
to stop about 2 inches from where you started, and that's going to allow access point for us to add the elastic in. Then we can put a safety pin, pop it on the edge of our elastic and begin to insert it in.
Let's dance with flames!
Ay, patay ko ba eh? Na.
Insert the safety pin and then overlap that seam allowance that we allowed. After we cut this elastic, we
Wala eh.
make sure before you sew this in place.
Wala na, ni si Twitter na, dugay kayo.
It's somehow twisted in.
Bayan.
Go to your sewing machine, switch it to a zigzag setting, go back and forth, overlap,
Every new day is worth celebrating in this cursed land.
So it's sitting within
Lambang na sa silong ng 400.
then you can sew close that hole that we left open. You see there's that first section on and gathered up with the elastic in there. We're then just going to repeat that process for the
Manners?
second section.
There's no place for manners in battle.
An enemy has been slain!
Oh.
Attack!
And we should have the top and bottom section.
Let's dance with
Next, we're going to
flames!
switch our focus to the straps. So again,
Kala mo ah.
fold them so the good sides face each other.
Kala mo ah.
Lift up these straps, try to get this material and then zigzag stitch all over the edges so that it's right. Pop the safety pin on and open the edges and guide the good sides out through this tongue and the seam that is on the seam. We're going to sharpen the seam so it's completely in the back section. Again, you can use a iron or something to press this so it is nice and crisp and stay.
Babayaan niyo ako dito.
Creating that scrunchy effect, we will need to cut out some
Para manaba ako dito. Sige. Diyan lang kayo. Tato din dito. Oy. Di kaya. Kit.
From that end and just sew the line across there so it's secured the elastic onto the strap. Once I've completed
Let's
the
dance with
first leg, I then continue pushing the safety pin and the elastic through to the other end and remove the safety pin and then again offset the elastic on about half an inch from that end and sew the line across there so it stays in place. With the elastic being shorter than the length of the strap, you'll find that once that's done, I then just put the pieces of the second strap and then it's time to remove and use straps onto the main.
Grabe yung pros mabak ah. Wala may ga.
Edge that has the same
Talawan ni gaya ba yan.
down to the top edge. So it's essentially the bad side
Uy.
of the panel and the bad sides of the straps are facing each other because when the straps are not folded properly and the good sides will be revealed. For the placement of the
Wala.
straps, I recommend finding the center pin off the top and then figuring out how far you want them to be apart.
Puro
And then
takbo.
my straps were 7 inches apart. So this first sewing line of the strap is going to be in line with the existing sewing line of the panel. So you can do this by offsetting the strap and then aligning so it matches up to the existing line.
Every new day is worth celebrating in this.
Let's dance with flames!
And then we fold the strap upwards so we
Uy. Daga na, daga na, daga na, daga na, daga na.
outside close to that top edge so it creates a second line that secures the strap onto the main top.
Wala mahimo. Wala.
It's hidden and the strap is all attached to the top. Repeat that process
Manhid
for
yung kaning imoy.
and then we continue.
Hii, nako.
So we need to wrap it around
Tira na po sa top.
so that it doesn't twist. So repeat the same process where we offset the raw edge of the strap, measure out how far you would like the strap to be on its backside, pin it in place, sew along the bottom hem, securing the first edge of the strap on, then unfold the strap.
Sabi niya itong kono eh.
How the strap should normally
One day,
that process where we
the
then sew that
flowers will
top
bloom
line.
again in the barren land.
Nabawi sa kauban ba eh. Kaya daw ka ito kanina. Sige, sige na dire. Sige ni dire. Ayaw. Ulat na. Apa engage na. Isa. Toro.
Second strap, so wrapping it around, make sure you don't have any twists at the end, around that raw edge of the top, and offsetting it by a little bit, just so that you're focusing on sewing it in line with that piece.
Patay.
And then focus on the front top section, sewing a line across there to secure it, and you're getting this top is
Turret has been destroyed. Our turret is under attack.
So you measure your bust area, times it by 1.5.
The darkness gathers.
Down to like this top to finish. Keep in mind the bust area will probably end
Ano
up
to?
covered by the shimmering line. Then ideally
Ano to?
Am I a demon hunter or a justice?
Ano to?
once you've found that height,
Dara mo.
add 2 inches.
Dagan ka lagi.
So the straps figure out your final width, and then find 2, and then find an inch. I went to find a thin.
Makaya, skip yo.
So my final width is 5 inches, I double that
Uy.
1 inch, and then add an extra inch.
Grabe, dagan tanan oy, gihahak guys anan.
And for the length, we're going to
Yee!
pinch on the front and measure over to the back where the straps will meet the top. Now for this, I am going to
Sa man nga.
instead of cutting out 2 straps, I will end up cutting out 4 straps. This process of measuring over the shoulder still ends up ending up to
Takbo rin balan bay.
also you do want a very like over exaggerated time effect. You can add extra and then you can add measuring tape
Aba. Kana oo, kana. Sus, gabi si Lina, gabi kamayo.
as well as the 4 straps. You start by focusing on the straps and fold them so the good sides are facing inwards, and you just sew along one short edge and then one long edge and leaving that other short edge open. Once you've completed that for all 4 straps, just go along and trim up any excess seam marks so it's nice and close to the sewing line, and then go around and zigzag stitch it over your loose edges to the frame. Then we're going to grab a clean paintbrush and place it on the closed edge and begin to push this through so it starts to reveal the good sides outwards. Getting the straps together for the least one to this is very coarse, and obviously I did a thin strap, so this is a bit of extra effort to get the sides facing out, whereas the thicker straps
Wala eh. Nanga, klaro na yung mga maids eh.
and then she adds these nice straps that have one clean edge and one raw edge. Next we'll focus on doing the front and the back.
Sayang kayo.
We're going to create a French seam effect, which if you didn't watch the previous top, it just helps create a
Patay nung hanabi noon.
and you don't have to zigzag stitch or overlock the edges. So if your material has
Tak the Lord ni atras. Uy, klaro.
this is where you would lay the bad sides together so the good sides
Patya na. Wa ni klaro.
edges as close as you can to the edge, and once you finish that, you can trim off any
Kaya nga to eh.
to leave minimal seam marks.
Every new day is worth celebrating.
Wapay otro po ni Bill nga way klaro.
As close as you can to the edge and making sure that seam mark is in there. If you're unsure, you can sew about half an inch or 1 centimeter away from the edge. You can see once I've done
Kings
this,
of the
then
Manian Empire.
Puro dagan ba? Yahak ni guys anan.
normal and do a regular seam, but I just feel like this is a nice touch. Once you've completed that, we are then just going to prepare the top and the bottom edges. So on the bottom edge, we'll do a full double fold seam. Again, do this as small as possible, or at least half an inch or 1 centimeter. Fold that in and that includes your entire bottom edge. And for the top edge, I'm just going to do one single fold, as I am going to add some plastic into this later. Do one single fold as small as you can along the top edge.
The
So
flowers will bloom again.
Look at the really careful facing out, and we're going to begin plugging out the good
Ayay, wagi at liko pa yung gagawang. Hawa na. Hawa na. Hawa na. Hawa na. Sa muka juga. Eh, sus bugok juga. Eh. Wala dyan. Atapang nga tao eh. Ayaw atras. Grabe. Di makaya. Atapang nga tao, hindi atras.
Through one of those little guided holes that most bobbins tend to have, and that just allows for the extra thread to hang out so you can grab a hold of it and it doesn't move around as you begin to thread it. Now, unlike a normal bobbin which we use the machine to thread it, this one we're just going to hand thread, and we do that because you don't want to stretch out this thread as we add it on. So when you are wrapping this thread around the bobbin, you're literally just guiding it on, making sure not to pull it, not to stretch it, just naturally guiding it on as it wants to fall, evenly flow across each edge until you
Atap ang ataw ay hindi atras.
then just like the machine is normal by adding the bobbin into its designated section. Obviously, the machine might look different, so set up yours however you need to, and then get the shirring thread so they're sitting up and meeting the top thread. And essentially, this is normal. The only thing is you want the
Yeah, I was
shirring
eat
thread
that.
to sit on the bottom side of the garment, so make sure whenever you are sewing this shirt,
Kana.
you have the good side of the garment facing upwards, and therefore the shirring thread.
Bibiyaan na po dayon, may klaro. Igo ron ni Colin, biyaan dayon. May klarong si Lina eh.
Back to where you begin and do a back stitch. Now, depending on your material, you might not see much of a bunched up effect for this first line, so do not stress if it is not looking as bunched up as you think it should, and just continue to sew each of your shirring lines, and you'll start to see that it does begin to gather. As well, when you go for a new line, I find obviously not completely moving it down to another section is perfectly fine, and also means that you don't waste the shirring thread, because by undoing it and trimming it each time and then pulling out a new tail, it feels that just wastes unnecessary thread. Make sure to do that
Kutugang
stitch
eh, no?
and with your foot, move it
Ay naku, talo tayo. Kira. It's just a game. Oh, kana. Atras.
It is quite simple creating this effect in theory, but it's just time consuming in the fact that you need to sit there, sew each line, potentially rethread it a few times, just be patient, put in a good podcast and just enjoy the process. Then once you've got down to the bottom section and you're finished, trim off any excess thread, then this final detail is down to personal
Yun na.
preference. I do find over time that the shirring thread can kind of lose its elastic pull, so to prevent it from getting too loose and like not sitting where I want it to, which I have experienced, but I decided to add like
Oh no, gabi yung ganyan ko ano eh.
does loosen up eventually.
Kamatay ka dyan eh.
Quickly keep it gathered down there, and to do this, I'm going to switch my machine back to the normal thread for both the top and the bobbin, and cut a piece of elastic that is the width of my bust area, and stretch it along
Kamatay ka dyan.
in place in line with this top hem section, and you'll see as I sew, I kind of stretch out the elastic as I go, just so it will give that nice bunched up finish. So I did this all the way around to the top, and then created that
Skill.
hem, so then you don't have to see the elastic. This top edge does kind of roll out, which is natural with the gathered effect and the shirring. So I went around to that elastic on, created that final hem, sewed that in place, and that was my top pretty much done. Again, you could just leave this as a boot with that forward, or if you want to continue along with me, we can add the final straps on. So we'll find the center point of
Ala,
the top.
grabe, nasapon pa ba eh?
Just insert you like the inner part of the straps to be. I put these ones quite close to you, this one's that star piece, so I ended up putting around 6.5 inches apart. And then
Uy, yun na, baka na.
repeating the top of the main panel and created a sewing line which pretty much aligns with the existing hem line of the top panel, and that helps secure the strap in place.
Si Lina, si Dagdagan eh.
And it's sitting above the top now, and just so
Po na isa, isog ko kayo. Klaro ni MM ba eh?
again, that just hides the raw edge of the strap. I repeated this for all of the four straps, and then tied these straps where they felt comfortable. One is my top all done and ready to add to the wardrobe.
Na! Pildi na, bawi ra.
For the last top, you have another kind of
Kaya pa na.
style. So it's given last time I mentioned
Oh,
key
pildi.
measuring points for the top panel to measure your bust. Times this on 1.5 as you're giving that gathered effect.
Pildi gid siya.
Measure with the cutting width of one of the main
Defeat,
points.
tulog na
And
ko.
for height, we'll measure from
Okay guys,
down to our design
isang
point.
talo, isang panalo.
Inches of seam
Kina, tulog na tayo.
to create that rough
Good
effect,
night.
and also add the elastic in.
Sweet
Then for the
dreams.
strap, again, personal
Bye-bye.
preference, you can do a tied effect or a regular strap. Either way, measure from your mid chest over your shoulders and down to where the straps will meet the back, and then we'll add 1